What's up everyone, Casey Bags here, and today we're going to be critiquing the layout design of Into the Odd. Now, most people, when they think about creating games, layout design is kind of later in the process, and I would argue, it's not really thought of for longevity, but more so as a first-time branding experience. And I think that's a huge miss, because at the end of the day, as game creators, it doesn't matter if you're doing rules and writing, creating the game engine, or the layout and design. The reality of game content, it doesn't matter if it's a core rulebook, a supplement material of any kind, or an adventure. The reality is it's more so than not a reference material. And you notice that the games that last the longest throughout lifetime, that are timeless, they're more functional because I think inherently the layout designer understands this process. So we're going to talk about that through Into the Odd. I want to start here in this series because this is a really great example of approaching a game while hitting all the branding check marks, but also being functional to where it's used as a very successful reference point within your game material. All right, unfortunately, this is as good as a layout I could get, so let's see. All right, so first off, when you come in, Into the Odd doesn't have reference material. I do think that's a little bit of a miss in general. Morkborg introduced this pattern, and I think game designers, they tend to think, oh, well, if Morkborg does it, I can't do it, because that's a Morkborg thing, and I don't think that's true. I wish more game designers would throw that concept out of the window and think, if they see a game that does something like utilize negative space that is essentially just throwaway space, utilize it for long term, like put tables or reference materials here. This is where Morkborg especially shines in any Morkborg hack, because whenever you're playing as a reference material, you know that when you need a quick table, you just open up the first cover, or if you need to reference the game, you just flip to the back. There's no need to flip through the book. That's a huge user experience win for any game. So I would like to see that kind of layout design translated to other games outside of Morkborg in the future. So this is done by Johan Nord, the creator of Morkborg. And we're going to see Johan's very functional in his design. Swedish, so it makes sense. But we're going to see how well he does, because this is one of my favorite games, I think, that's laid out of all the things that I have. And let's dive into that. So we can see the table of contents, and just notice how clean and how easy to read all of this is. We can easily tell this font's very readable, and sorry for the blur, focus in and out. But look at how clean it is, and notice the dividers. Divider here separating the example of a play, and then it goes into the introductory adventure. So we have essentially rules and reference, an example of like how that material is played, and then right along the same row, the actual way to play that game. So this is very smart, because this is the kind of what I would reference as don't make me think, is you're getting an easy user experience to where you can your brain subconsciously connects these dots. All right, so great table of contents. Now, let's check out the text contents of this introductory. Now we have a big visual, very common, but look at this text. This is not a lot of text and a lot of negative space. What this does for your brain is it makes it easy to consume this material. You're not getting overwhelmed, but look at the usage of bold within these paragraphs. If you needed to skim through this, you know that the world is too large, you're an explorer, citizens flock to Bastion, and it has an underground place. Like, things like that go such a long way. But notice how easy it is to consume this. We know that it's an introduction, what the title is, and what the content is. So next, let's talk about the sections that are broken up. So we have that same format now to where we have this border, a bunch of negative space, so your eyes focus right in on a small amount of text content. You have the chapter, the title of the chapter, and then now we have this new typography pattern of a subtitle and then the content of that section, or a section title. So how do you play? What do you need? You immediately, this is where your eye flow goes, and this is so important because you notice that, especially when referencing, if I just happen to flip to this game, I quickly can see how do you play, what do you need. I don't have to search for where this stuff is. But let's keep going. We can see these patterns are continuously being used. And what I want to call out here, especially for a user experience or into the odd, is how easy it is for your eyes to consume this material because of how clean and functional this pattern is. So once again, border, large amount of negative space, section content, title, and then bold usage, but the negative space is very important, subsection titles and the section content. So what I want to call out here, this is great. So let's talk about this table. This is a massive table. And so most of your game content, what you'll see is you'll see these tables laid out and they just squish as much as possible. What Johan has done here is utilized 2 different pages to provide a massive table that gives you the negative space so it's easier to consume and easier to read in general. But notice that the dice, I guess vertical columns also extend to the other side. So it doesn't matter what page you're on, you can easily reference what dice result or what row result that is. This makes it so easy to quickly reference and read. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite parts of this book is how this table is laid out. So we're running out of time, so I'm going to flip through this, but I want to call something out here. If I bin this, I've been pointing out these borders on each page because look, not only is this a design choice that enhances this page layout, it's also a functional choice because now each section is color-coded. And if I just look at this at the side of the book, I know exactly where each section is. This means that in theory, I don't need a table of contents if I memorize the colors. And notice that as someone who is red-green colorblind, these uses, the colors that he has chosen to use are accessible to people like myself who have a hard time seeing red and green because they're cool tones and neutral tones. And so like black and blues and this saturated gray maybe. But keep it like this is all branding. It's probably taken from this palette right here, but it still works. And I think this is probably one of my favorite parts of the book as a whole. Like when books understand, when layout artists understand something as simple as this addition to where it goes throughout the whole book, that goes a long way. Okay, so we're running out of time. Let's talk about the adventure. Look at how easy this adventure is, section by section. But what I wanted to call out before we run out of time is the use of these arrows that correlate to a map. This is nuts. Like this is the direction you go in a map to tell you where these things are located. It is genius. Everyone should do this.